Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Mark Martin. President Trump is on the verge of a major legislative victory. This week, Congress is expected to pass a bill to revamp the country's tax code. CBN's Jenna Browder is in Washington with what this means for you.
President Trump says Republicans are just days away from delivering a big, shiny Christmas gift to the American people.
This is going to be one of the great gifts to the middle-income people of this country that they've ever gotten for Christmas.
Late last week, Republicans sealed the biggest overhaul to the nation's tax code in 3 decades. They have a final bill, and now with 2 key holdouts on board, Senators Marco Rubio and Bob Corker, they say they have the votes.
I'm confident we'll pass this bill probably on Tuesday. We were determined to get this job done.
The plan slashes the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%, a big win for business. For individuals, it lowers the top tax rate from 39% to 37%, good for the wealthy. And for the middle class, the plan doubles the standard deduction. But it caps combined state and local income and property tax deductions at $10,000. Democrats are united in their opposition.
This is a total betrayal of President Trump's economic populist message on the campaign trail. It's a huge giveaway to big corporations.
The package also gets rid of the Obamacare mandate, which forces Americans to buy health insurance. One measure taken out of the final version is a repeal of the Johnson Amendment, which forbids churches and nonprofits from supporting or opposing political candidates. One key GOP lawmaker will be absent for this week's vote. Senator John McCain, who's battling brain cancer, has gone home to Arizona where he continues his treatment.
He's going through a very tough time, there's no question about it. But he will come back if we need his vote.
The House is expected to vote Tuesday, and if everything goes as planned, the Senate could vote as soon as Wednesday. From there, the bill heads to President Trump's desk. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
President Donald Trump says he's not planning to fire Robert Mueller despite learning the special counsel obtained unauthorized access to thousands of Trump's transition emails. Mueller's team obtained the emails from the General Services Administration, a federal agency that maintains copies of the emails rather than requesting them from the transition team. They contain correspondence about Trump's foreign policy goals and personnel discussions about candidates for top positions in the administration. The president says this was not looking good for Mueller and again stressed that there was no collusion between his campaign and Russia. Islamic terrorists attacked a church service in Pakistan Sunday, killing at least 9 people and injuring dozens. ISIS claimed responsibility for the attack, which happened in Quetta. The attack against Bethel Memorial Methodist Church took place when more than 400 people were attending services. CNN reports security forces killed one suicide bomber and injured another, but the wounded terrorist managed to get inside the church and set off his explosives just inside the church doors. Police are searching for 2 more suspects. The United Nations Security Council will vote on a resolution that could essentially reverse President Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. According to a Reuters report, the resolution is only a draft, and although it does not specifically name Trump or the U.S. in the text, it does imply that any decisions to change the status of Jerusalem will have no effect. The resolution needs 9 votes to pass. It cannot be vetoed by the U.S., France, Britain, or China. Thousands of people will be stranded at one of the world's busiest airports in Atlanta just days before the Christmas travel rush. More than 1,000 flights have been grounded at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport because of loss of power. The power outage was caused by a fire in an underground electrical facility on Sunday. Although power has been restored, many airlines have been affected. One aviation expert said that Delta Airlines' regular operation schedule would not be restored until Tuesday. Coming up, a missionary in Sudan is locked up alongside ISIS terrorists for 14 months. Hear his incredible story. You don't want to miss it. Stay with us. Welcome back. President Obama was so determined to secure a nuclear deal with Iran that his administration derailed a massive investigation of Hezbollah by the Drug Enforcement Administration. Politico reports the DEA started its investigation in 2008 when it realized the Iran-backed terrorist group was broadening its efforts into international crime, including trafficking drugs around the world. Federal agents tracked Hezbollah's drugs and money laundering that included buying used American cars and shipping them to Africa. They also identified who they believed to be the innermost circle of the terror group. However, in order to appease Iran and complete the nuclear deal, the Obama administration threw up roadblocks that proved detrimental to the investigation. T.D. Jakes is a mega-church pastor and author of more than 24 inspirational books. So his latest book topic might surprise people because it's aimed at entrepreneurs. It's called Soar, Building Your Vision from the Ground Up. CBN's John Jessup sat down with Jakes to find out more.
This book essentially at its core is about business and for entrepreneurs. I think a lot of people might be surprised that you, Pastor Bishop T.D. Jakes, would write a book like this. So why this book and why now?
I don't think that the book is incongruent with who I am. I think it might be inconsistent with how they define me. I come from generations of entrepreneurs. I wrote this book against the wishes of the publisher because this book is primarily focused toward business. They wanted me to stay in my sweet spot. It's a bit of me coming out of the closet, so I had a little nervous anxiety, to be honest. I've only told you, so this is an exclusive. Because I wanted to have a conversation. Sunday morning is great, and we get people inspired on Sunday morning. But if we don't balance the inspiration with the information, then it's going to lead to frustration. If somebody keeps inspiring you, but they don't instruct you, after a while you become frustrated with the inspiration. I chose to get down into the weeds of this is how you build your vision from the ground up. So we can stop telling you the wealth of the unjust is laid up for the just. I'm trying to tell you how to pull it down. Christ didn't say, I come that you might have church. He said, I come that you might have life and have that life more abundantly. And I want to help people to have abundant life. I'm not trying to make people rich. This is not a prosperity preaching message. This is about empowering people to accomplish their dream.
Father, husband, pastor, film producer, and best-selling author, Jake seems to connect with a broad audience.
You devour the prey while you're young.
From millennials to seniors.
Can you be too young? Can you be too old? Can you be too busy or too poor to reach the level where you take flight and soar?
When you look at corporations today that are at the front end of Facebook and elsewhere, these are young guys who are rising to power. So there's no such thing as too young. And then I certainly want to tell my generation there's no such thing as too late. Because when you look at Harlan Sanders starting KFC off of Social Security in his 60s when he started, when you look at the current president of the United States, 70 years old and hopping on and off planes and running all over the country like he's a young man, I think sometimes we drink the Kool-Aid of thinking that we are to this or that to have the next level.
Bishop Jakes not only deals in deep thought subjects, he also talks culture and current events such as Christians and identity politics.
I think that we have, in some cases, been more loyal to our party than we have to our faith. And the politicians play us like puppets and hit the hot buttons and get us to the polls and then turn the agenda into whatever they want. And I think both sides do it. I'm going to tell you, I have dealt with Republican and Democratic leadership on the highest level of this nation. And I have yet to see somebody who came to the White House who in some way didn't do something that compromised my principles. And I find myself choosing between poisons. And I think many Americans feel that same frustration. And so I think that we should date all of them, marry none of them, interrogate them. Where we have synergy, let's unite. But let's not lose our individuality as the church.
Hey, hey, ho, ho!
He also offered ideas to fight division in America that's reached into the church.
What do we do as the body of Christ to correct that?
I see a deepening divide in the body of Christ. I don't think we can fix the world because the church is still divided. Our school systems are more integrated than our churches. Our nightclubs are more integrated than our churches. Our armies are more integrated than our churches. And we have to work harder to remain the church that Jesus prayed would be one. The challenge before us today is to answer that age-old question, am I my brother's keeper? And I think many people would like to say, no, my brother is his own keeper. But in reality, time and history has proven that we do mutually bear some responsibility in the well-being of the person who is bleeding on the Jericho road. That is a global discussion. It is the testing of the fibers of our democracy. It is the testing of the integrity of us as Christians. As a pastor, I teach it on the myopic level of do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Thank you so much.
Have an exclusive information there from Bishop T.D. Jakes. Well, stay with us. There's much more of CBN NewsWatch ahead. We'll be right back. Peter Yashik served the persecuted church for years, was arrested, charged with espionage, and put in jail with Islamic militants. Now he's free, and he sat down with our Gary Lane in this exclusive U.S. television interview, where he revealed the horrific details of his time in prison.
Arrested during a trip to Sudan, missionary Peter Yashik was imprisoned with members of ISIS.
One of the ISIS members was a Libyan guy who, at the age of 12, was a personal guard of Osama bin Laden in Tora Bora. And later on, when he returned to Libya, he was one of the murderers who slaughtered the 20 Egyptians on the Libyan shore. He told me that if I was an American or a Russian, that he would break my neck immediately and kill me. He took out a fishing string, quite a strong fishing string from his pocket, and he was showing how he can kill a person within a few seconds with this fishing string.
Peter discovered his other cellmates were just as extreme. When asked to share news from the outside, he told them about the Paris terrorist attack.
When I said that 129 people got killed, they interrupted me and they started to shout Allahu Akbar for several minutes. So immediately I knew that the company that I was in, and I stopped telling them any more news. They called me a filthy pig or a filthy rat, and if I did not react to this new name, they started to beat me with slapping my face or fist to my face, or then they used a wooden stick. So I gradually learned to live with the new name. I was not Peter anymore, I was just filthy pig.
How did it come to this? Why was this man dedicated to helping persecuted Christians now himself persecuted? Peter's arrest came in December 2015, just 2 years after the Sudanese government thought it had expelled all foreign Christian workers from the country. While visiting Sudan, Peter met with Christian leaders and recorded some video. Agents confiscated his equipment and charged him with spying against the government. During his first 4 months in jail, Peter asked God to return him to his family. His epiphany came after he led some Eritrean prisoners to Christ.
And I suddenly started to realize that there is a purpose, that the Lord has a purpose for me to be in prison, to share the gospel with those people. And I started to be even more courageous to open my mouth and share the gospel also with the Muslims who were in the previous cell with me.
In January 2017, a Sudanese court sentenced Peter to 20 years in prison. His work helping persecuted Christians in Sudan was considered an anti-state activity, espionage.
I really was considered to be a very dangerous person, and they mentioned that I am an employee of the spy organization called VOM. So actually VOM was a spy organization. Yeah, it's a spy organization.
Not a missionary.
No,
not
it's
a mission organization.
Yeah.
The son of a pastor, Peter had experienced persecution before, growing up in communist Czechoslovakia.
A wire service bulletin flashes the word to an unbelieving world.
Christian oppression intensified in Czechoslovakia after Red Army tanks rolled through Prague in August 1968. Government agents constantly monitored Peter's parents and their Christian activities.
They knew that we were receiving Bibles and we were receiving Christian literature, and we were also my parents were distributing that.
One day, Peter returned home from school and found his parents missing.
They were arrested by secret police and interrogated, and apparently the secret police wanted to know what was going on in our house.
And 36 years later, like his parents, Peter was arrested for his Christian activities, only this time at the hands of Islamists, not communists. But God prepared Peter for his prison experience years earlier, when his father gave him a special gift.
Without saying much, he brought a book written by Richard Wurmbrand. The name of the book in German was In Gottes Untergrund, which means in God's underground in English. And I was fluent in German at that time already. So he gave me this book and he said, read this book. It will encourage your faith.
Peter's father passed at the age of 89, while Peter was in prison.
And what do you think, Peter, he would say to you about your time in prison and what you went through if he were still around now and he knew about it? All the details.
Yeah, I'm quite sure that he would be proud of me. I'm quite sure, yeah.
Peter was freed after spending 14 months in prison. He credits the Czech government for negotiating his release and the prayers and support of Christians around the world. Nearly 500,000 people signed a petition for him, and thousands sent encouraging cards and letters. Peter says he was brought to tears when he heard some Sudanese women near the prison singing Christian praise songs. How did your experience change you? How is Peter Yashik different now compared to before your prison experience?
When you come through this situation, you realize that everything that you have is a grace of God, and it is on His strength that it is in prison. It is not your own strength that you can survive. Being humble and being faithful till the last moment, this is the moment when we can be more than conquerors when we go through difficult situation because of our faith in Jesus Christ.
A humble servant of the persecuted church, persecuted himself, and then freed from prison. Grateful for those who prayed and for learning to wait patiently on God for victory and grace. Gary Lane, CBN News, Prague.
Wow, what an amazing testimony. God's strength is made perfect in our weakness. Stay with us. We have more of CBN NewsWatch on the way. Don't go away. At age 16, Jordan Whitmer came up with an idea to lead his friends to Christ. And today, just 3 years later, he's leading a national ministry that helps high school students do just that. Heather Sells reports.
The key to this ministry is student leadership, and the proof: no one over 18 is allowed on that stage. It's the big idea behind what's known as How to Life. From start to finish, students lead. That includes worship, running the soundboard, and sharing their testimonies.
I attempted to take my own life. I did not feel a purpose on this earth.
I just broke down and I said, God, I really need you to help me through this right now.
God came so that you may have life, and so that you may have it abundantly.
CBN News went to Wichita Falls, Texas for this How to Life event, led by Angel Velasquez.
I was really excited that it was kids my age trying to reach out to kids my age.
Jordan Whitmer was a junior in high school when he realized students want to live out their faith. That's why he started How to Life.
Students today really want truth. They want hope. They want real, genuine, quality, legit facts about how they truly can live for Jesus.
It's a frustration common to many high school students who are growing in their faith but unsure about how to share it.
The story we continue to hear are these students that say, hey, I wanted to do something like this. I want to reach my friends for Jesus, but I don't really know how.
In just 3 years, thousands have attended How to Life rallies and hundreds have accepted Christ.
Tonight was phenomenal, way better than I could have ever perceived.
I got to witness so many different people rededicate their lives to Christ and meet Him for the first time and just truly experience His presence for the first time, which is awesome.
The people I saw come to Christ, I was just over
overwhelmed with joy.
These students believe they must take responsibility for their generation, and they won't be held back by their youth.
We will be the ones who are going to lead the church next, and so at some point we've got to take that leadership.
Vulnerability is a key to making this ministry work. Students have to be willing to tell their friends stories of God's work in their lives, stories that include everything from family conflict to thoughts of suicide.
And my mom walked in and she held me and she said, "Child, you're my heart. I cannot lose you." And when we're going through tough times like this, God is literally standing here, arms open, saying, "Child, you are my heart. I cannot lose you."
For Whitmer, the path is clear, coming alongside students who are ready to share their faith and willing to invest in the months of planning needed to pull off nights like this.
I view that time is short for us to step up and make a difference and impact an entire generation of teenagers that so desperately need Jesus.
Reporting in Wichita Falls, Texas, Heather Sells, CBN News.
Great story. Well, that's it for now on CBN NewsWatch. Hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day.